Yeah, that's actually the title of the book behind you. But it's this concept of you kind of just go with what you're presented, and the mindfulness is again this quality of engagement. It's like I'm not just flopping around randomly going places. I'm going places where I get this feeling of connection. And but I don't know where I'm going to go ahead of time, and that shows up a lot in my work, and it shows up a lot in my life. And it's actually one of the things that I've been thinking about is an incredibly powerful force sort of overall in the world of sort of keeping the ability to engage with wherever you are in the world, whether it's some kind of person that you meet on the street, or a project that you're doing, or social issues as they manifest, in all kinds of different things, that you can sort of be in this place where it's like, I don't necessarily know what I'm trying to do, or even if I'm trying to do anything, but I can engage with you and hold the space for change to happen if it wants to. It doesn't have to, and then sometimes it does, and sometimes it goes in these amazing places that you would never get to if you tried to just push stuff through. And so my newest thing for me is like thinking about that in kind of a world context, and thinking of that historically I've been a world worker in some ways more than a body worker, because all of these kind of metaphors about the body can be taken directly into your way of interacting with the outside world, and and I think similar kinds of things can happen.
Yeah, that is a big idea.
Wow, okay. That's how we unlock the internal healing mechanisms of the world, in the same way as you unlock the internal healing mechanisms of the body.
Well, there's that whole idea, right? It's like, if you take these things to a global scale, and it sounds very science fiction-y, this idea of everybody thinking about one thing at the same time, and what would happen, and kind of if we're all vibrating on the same frequency, so to speak, and just kind of interesting to kind of think of what would happen. Now I'm thinking about reality.
No, see, it's gonna happen. That's the whole point. I have a feeling that ideally, if anybody comes to terms with some of these ideas, they might sort of like think about things. But again, from the body, what you notice is if you have the same person on the table and you had 4 or 5 different therapists, they might all tend to want to go to the same area, or they might get an idea of how these things interrelate, but they might, one person might be drawn to one area and another person is drawn to another area. In fact, we do work this way when we do multiple hands work, which is incredibly powerful. So it's like, okay, I'll take the head, and but I think what that is that, you talk about people vibrating on different frequencies, but there's also a degree to which, vibrating on the same frequency, but there's also a degree to which people vibrate on different frequencies. And so there's different places that an individual is going to respond with another individual. And so, again, I think about that, not only on the table, where one person might want to work in one area, another person might want to work in the other area, and yet you're all still working on the same body, and it's going to still have the process of getting where it needs to go. It might come from different starting points. And I think in a world context that's also true, that those places where it's your piece, or your little place where you can really connect, is different from person to person, and that but yet that process of mindful spontaneity or engagement can overall allow the world to have its own healing processes through that interaction, which I just think is a very kind of cool idea, and is quite different than other ideas I've had about, how to make a change in a society that you want. Because I think all of us look around and we say, oh man, what can I do about whatever problem that you see, and that there's this tendency, or there has been for me, to take a very goal-directed kind of approach. If I give money to this particular organization, then they're going to help end hunger. And it's a different approach, I think, than I'm taking now, which is more, as I say, the one of engagement and just, where's my piece? Okay, I'm over here, doing whatever it is I'm doing, and I'm not necessarily sure how it's going to hook into this whole process, but that the more I let the world tell its own story and meet it where it is, if you think about it, then it'll have that ability to make its own shifts. And, as I say, it's a very different approach. And this is about 2 days old from me, so, so we'll see how it works. But,
Fair enough.